Hello everyone, Chef Eric here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe down below and give this video a like. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make the most amazing pizza ever, and it can only take not more than 3 hours. So let's get started. So we're gonna start by combining all of our wet ingredients, and for our wet ingredients we have some warm water along with some sugar and some instant yeast. Mix these ingredients together and set them aside and let them proof. Now, if your water is too hot, the dough won't rise. That's what happened to me the first time. So after like 2 hours, I had to remake the dough from scratch. So make sure that your yeast is puffy once you've done that step. Next, we can start mixing our dry ingredients, and for that we have some all-purpose flour, some salt, and some olive oil. Mix those ingredients together and form a well in the center of your dough, in the center of your dry ingredients, and pour in all of the wet watery ingredients and gently start to bring that dough together. Start in the center and bring dough from what's flour from the outside, bring it towards the center until it forms a nice and cohesive dough. Once your dough has come together nice and evenly, we can now pop it onto a lightly dusted surface and knead it for 10 minutes. Yes, 10 minutes is just excessive amount of time, but this is really going to help form that little bit of gluten that we need for this dough. Once it's nice and smooth, you want to form it into a nice bowl and pop it back into the mixing bowl. Don't worry, don't need to transfer it into a brand new bowl. Less dishes is always better. And pour over a little bit of olive oil. Cover it with either a plate or cling film or whatever, just to make sure it doesn't form a skin on top, and let it rise for 2 hours. In the meantime, we can start to make our tomatoes. We're gonna start by chopping up some fresh tomatoes. So here we're working with about 2 tomatoes and some garlic. So chop your tomatoes up and pop them into a blender. Now this sauce is absolutely easy, anyone can make it. So you can use it for pasta, you can use it for pizza, you can use it for anything that probably need a tomato sauce. So blend up your tomatoes in the blender with a little bit of water if necessary, and we can head on over to the stove. So on the stove, in a pot, you can start out with some garlic and some olive oil and fry that up for a few minutes until it's translucent, nice and golden brown. Now you could add your tomato paste at this stage, but I forgot, so I just moved on. So I added in my tomato puree. Along with that tomato paste, I had forgotten to add some salt and some black pepper. Mix all those ingredients together and let it cook down for about 10 minutes. This you just want to remove any excess water and make sure it's really nice and thick so that you have a crispy base. Once it's nice and thick, pop it into the bowl and let it fully cool, and then we can next start working on our other things. So we're gonna start by preheating our oven, and in the oven you wanna add a chapati pan. We're doing this an hour in advance so that the chapati pan gets super hot so that we have a nice and crispy base for our pizza. So you wanna preheat the oven to about the highest temperature it can go, which is generally about 280 degrees to 300 degrees Celsius. In the meantime, we can grate up some cheese. Here I'm using mozzarella. You could use any cheese in the world that you'd like. I'd avoid like cheeses that don't melt. Like try and get like briefly melting cheeses like mozzarella, parmesan, cheddar, and all that. So set your cheese aside in the fridge while we work on our dough. Once the dough has risen beautifully, as you can see, this is a completely different bowl because it's a completely different dough. The first one didn't rise because the water was too hot, so make sure you always keep an eye on that. You might have waited for 2 hours just to have a flat piece of chapo waiting for you. So by the way, if that doesn't work out, you can always make chapos out of that dough. Form the dough into 2 even pieces, or 3 or 1, it's up to you. Cover and let them rest for about 30 minutes. We can now start to form our pizza. So start in the center, working your way outwards. You could use a rolling pin, yes, but I'm judging. Don't use a rolling pin. You could, but I highly do not recommend it. It's always easier to stretch out the dough with your hands, and if you can lift it up in the air and then turn it around, please send me a video. I'd love to see how it works out with this lovely dough. So once it's stretched out, pop it onto some baking paper or parchment paper or aluminium foil, and pour over some marinara sauce. Spread everything out as evenly as you possibly can, and you can start out with some cheese. Once you add the cheese, yeah, you could end there. It's okay. But since I'm a little bit extra, I decided to go on with some salami or pepperoni. You could add anything you'd like. You could add some like peppers, some onions, some pineapple, some ham. Yeah, some people say pineapple doesn't belong on pizza, but in my opinion, it does belong on pizza, and no one can change my opinion about that. So you can add any toppings in the world that you'd like and thread it onto your chopping board, making sure you don't pour half of the contents onto the floor, and you can take it over to the kitchen. So in the kitchen, you want to slide that pizza onto the chapati pan, or like your pizza stone in quotes, because no one ever has a pizza stone. I don't think there's even one in Kenya. But pop that into the oven and let it cook for about 10 to 12 minutes, just until it's beautiful and golden brown. Wait for it to cool. My older brother was ready to dash and eat it when it was still hot, and he burnt his tongue because of like the hot cheese. So please, this is a caution. Don't eat it fast. Like, let it cool for 5 minutes while you make the other pizza and enjoy. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week for a brand new video.